Today is the last day that the Immutable Marketplace is going to be live. It's retiring on August 12th, 2024. Whether or not, today is actually today or another day, it doesn't really matter. What I wanted to talk about is the rise and seemingly stagnant position that crypto gaming is currently in. Right now, we are in such a unique point in crypto gaming's history. And Immutable X being right now the largest crypto gaming coin in the entire industry really brings a unique point of view. As someone that's been obsessed with the space for a long time, I wanted to talk about it. I hope you like the content, like and subscribe if you do, and let's get right into it. So what's going on with the IMX Marketplace? Well, this is the big news. They're pretty much saying, this is their spiel, that when they created the Immutable SDK, which is the thing that builds all the stuff in the Immutable ecosystem, they wanted to showcase, a marketplace. But since then, they don't want to compete with these marketplaces, which they're losing, by the way. They wanted to support the marketplaces instead and see the Immutable ecosystem go. Are all of the NFTs rugging in the Immutable X ecosystem? No, they're not rugging. There are many other places to go ahead and trade. You actually go here, takes you to all the marketplaces. My favorite marketplace right now is probably Sphere. I mean, it looks the coolest right now, at least. This is the one that last year, very late last year, there was a collaboration between Polygon, Immutable, Beam, Merit Circle, and AVAX. There's been a really interesting relationship between all of these different crypto gaming companies. It kind of feels like Polygon at one point or another was the number one. I mean, there was no dispute, was the top crypto gaming chain out there. But their program kind of fell apart. Their faith in crypto gaming, their funding just kind of fell apart when it came to Polygon Studios, and Ryan Wyatt, which was head of YouTube at the time, decided to leave Polygon. I presume it's because their program was sunsetting for the most part. And all of the games from Polygon, for the most part, went ahead and left to Immutable. This is good for both of these companies because of what Immutable is actually trying to do in the first place. And what they're trying to do is work together. We learned in December 6th, this is Merit Circle here, saying that Merit Circle, Immutable, and Polygon were joining forces to take a united front to take the gaming industry by storm. What it was at the time was 𝐂𝐫𝐸VM. The only difference between the original Immutable chain, so to say, without the 𝐂𝐫𝐸VM to this one is that now there's a small gas fee attached to this 𝐂𝐫𝐸VM if they want to choose it, right? And on top of that, you can now do smart contracts. So a lot of these more on-chain metrics will now be possible as a result of this 𝐂𝐫𝐸VM, which I think is cool. The entire vision behind Immutable has been just being a one-stop shop for everything built in the crypto gaming space, pretty much for the most part. If you actually look at their products page right now, if I can actually pull that up, they've got a passport, the checkout, order book, mint trade. You can go just down and down and down, and you'll see for yourself that right now there is quite a few things available for people to build on IMX. This sounds really good. Why isn't Immutable at a $10 billion market cap? Well, there are a couple things holding Immutable back. One of the things has been what seems to be the struggle in UI. I mean, it looks terrible. The Immutable wallet has never looked the greatest. It just hasn't. Passport came out. It's looking a lot better because they just make a wallet for you. And, these days, why even bother for the most part? But these Web3 native degens like me, I still just prefer not using the IMX Passport. I just haven't really enjoyed the experience thoroughly. So maybe at one point or another, someone else will develop something. But IMX Passport was like their huge piece of utility that came out that would make instant wallet onboarding come. And this would be a really big deal for the crypto gaming space. We haven't seen a crazy amount of adoption, but what we have seen for IMX is the token scene evolving over time, to be quite frank with you. There've been a couple games that have come out that, have these huge ties to Immutable. There's Guild of Guardians, and then of course there's still Gods Unchained that has been making a bit of a comeback. You actually look at Token Trove and Sphere, you'll see that the top collections by volume are Guild of Guardians. You've got Illuvium, which recently launched, so it makes a lot of sense. We have Cross the Ages, which I believe was topping the French Google Play stores at one point or another. It was either Google Play or the Apple App Stores. It was one of those in the strategy category. They were topping that. Hunters On-Chain, Habbo, and then we've got Gods Unchained. Their two biggest positions other than IMX is the Gods Unchained token and the Guild of Guardians token. How do I know that? Well, using Arkham Invest intelligence, you can go ahead and see for yourself that IMX right now has about $1.9 billion worth of potential firepower unlocking over the course of however much time it needs to unlock. How much time do they need to unlock? I'll go ahead and show you it in a second. But what I will show you first is their holdings. Right now, they're holding around $38.98 million worth of the Guild of Guardians token. They're also holding $85.87 million worth of the Gods Unchained token. And right now, they're holding about $1.68 billion worth of the IMX token. So this is not a poor company. This is not a company that's running out of money. You know, they still have a lot of tokens. But of course, there's always a catch with everything in life. If only it was just so easy. If only they actually had $1.6 billion available to them right now. No, it's not the case. If you actually look at token unlocks, which I implore every single cryptocurrency you trade or look into, you should be looking at their token unlocks. All of these companies, if you actually look at their coin market cap, you will see this right here. This is the fully diluted market cap. If this number is bigger than the market cap, then all it means is that there are tokens that have not come out there. They just haven't come to circulation. People can't trade them yet for one reason or another. And if you look at stuff like token unlocks, you'll see when, for example, here in 24 days, $38.64 million worth of Immutable X is going to be unlocked. Is that going to be a huge negative event for IMX? Well, let's go ahead and actually find out. What is this? Well, if we go a little bit deeper, on September 6, 2024, they're going to be getting about 1% of the supply in ecosystem development tokens and about 1% of the circulating supply in project development tokens, which is actually positive. It's a good thing to have more tokens out in circulation because it gives more firepower for Immutable to continue to get more and more games into its ecosystem. If we look deeper into their unlocks, you'll see that there's still just a lot of tokens, honestly, that need to unlock for IMX over the course of the next 2 years, pretty much. It's saying that in around January 31st of 2026, we will have gotten full unlocks on IMX. So hopefully by then they've done what they needed to do to bring mass adoption to the crypto gaming space. But of course, here's the thing with all these treasuries and these ecosystems, they're heavily tied to their own coins. I mean, this entire treasury is built off of IMX, Gods Unchained, and Guild of Guardians. Until they realize this, it doesn't really matter. So what I suspect that Immutable X is doing is that they are paying developers, you know, these games coming in to their ecosystem with the IMX token because they have just so much of the IMX token. And these games are liquidating IMX tokens to build out their games. So there will naturally be sell pressure because of this. But I don't see it as a negative. I definitely see it as a heavy positive. They're spending a bunch of money now on crypto games. Why haven't we seen mass adoption of crypto gaming yet? Well, it's a lot more expensive to build crypto games than you think it is. There's a lot of weird stuff, shenanigery that happens in the space. And, you know, when it comes to the IMX space and games that I'm looking forward to for the most part, one of them is Chronoforge. I actually looked into Chronoforge pretty recently. It gives me some pretty cool MMO vibes. I actually looked into the making of the wipe where, you know, it talks about how mankind tends to ignore some of the core issues that face us. And we're always about protecting ourselves until it's too late. And the wipe kind of embodies that vision, which I really like. These games focusing more on lore, focusing more on community. To me, this is how you build a proper brand. In the earlier cycle, we didn't really see that, and now we're beginning to see this a lot more, which is a positive development for me, not in terms of price action. I think in terms of price action, we just want moon boys all day saying crazy things. But in terms of the gamer in me that wants these games to be built out and fleshed out and look awesome, stuff like Chronoforge excites me a lot. Maybe not from an investment standpoint, but from a gameplay standpoint, definitely. Are there any crazy trades right now that you could take advantage of for IMX? I would say I don't really see any right now. I don't see any crazy opportunities. I would say this is like the gamer's chain. This isn't really like the hyper speculator, make 100x profits in 3 days kind of chain. This is just the, if you enjoy playing video games, there's going to be 400 different video games that will be coming out over the next year or two that will be exciting. Will this drive tens of billions of dollars worth of value to the IMX ecosystem? That is very debatable. You know, Axie Infinity at one point or another was at a $10 billion market cap for their AXS coin. Why was it there? Well, it was because people were using this AXS coin to go ahead and breed Axies and participate with the rest of the Axie Infinity ecosystem. That was the primary point. And then, you know, governance, staking, all that other stuff that came down the line. That, for the most part, was the reason that Axie Infinity was worth so much. It wasn't necessarily that the game was great, which, you know, to some people it was great. To me, it was like, yeah, it was meh. We had scholars, though, which was pretty awesome. But for the most part, it was the speculation, the smart contracts, the real degen stuff that drove $40 million worth of trading volume every single day that really brought you know, a lot of value to the ecosystem from a chain standpoint. And when it comes to stuff like IMX, they've got to be thinking, you know, 2 years down the line, they have to be making their money off of these gas fees, off of the fees that the actual chain is producing, which is why I think, you know, a lot of these crypto gaming chains are in a bit of a dilemma. I think that's part of the reason why they developed the ZK EVM in the first place, because if you go down, you know, the ZK EVM is gas-free for gamers. Gas-free for gamers. Debatable for the rest of them, right? And, you know, Immutable, the original one, right? The ZK rollup for, you know, optimized game specific. Zero gas fees. They need gas fees. They need gas fees. They need to make money. They need to make money. So we'll have to see how IMX rationalizes the amount that they're spending with the future revenue projections. I know this is super boring stuff that IMX could possibly create to rationalize what they're spending. And you know, right now, you know, just because the IMX Marketplace has gone down does not make me bearish at all. It does kind of remind me of the IMX Marketplace. Immutable and Ronin have just, it feels like a historic beef against each other. It's always been, you know, IMX made a ton of millionaires during the 2021 bull cycle. People made a ridiculous amount of money and lost a ridiculous amount of money on both chains through Illuvium, Gods Unchained, and the many other cryptocurrencies that were available at the time. But of course, mainly the IMX token. And then we had Ronin, which, I mean, they had the Ronin coin, which went from $3 all the way down to like 50 cents, but has done a very strong comeback. Both very successful crypto gaming chains respectively, right? Two different visions have gotten just a die-hard community base that will always be with them as a result of the wealth that they've accumulated over the course of the 2021 NFT bull cycle. Keep in mind that Immutable was this one-stop shop, but when it had come out, this marketplace that you're looking at right now was the pinnacle of the entire crypto space in general. People were tired of paying crazy amounts for OpenSea gas fees. Ethereum gas fees were ridiculous. And once you'd actually bridged your money over to the Immutable marketplace, you pay absolutely no gas fees for using it. So we've come kind of full circle here to the point where ETH gas fees are now very inexpensive. These ZK EVMs are popping up all over the place, right? Polygons all over the place with their CDKs. And now we finally come to the point where gaming needs to impress. And so where's the value coming from? The value is coming from something that just hasn't come yet. People right now are farming play to airdrops. They're farming play to airdrops on many games. I'll actually link a video in the description to kind of show you the play to airdrops that we're farming right now. There's been like one, for example, Boomland, which I think Boomland, it's an okay game. You know, I've gone ahead and played it. They're played at airdrop season 1. I've heard people, you know, make upwards of 2,000 IMX tokens, which isn't a crazy amount of money for playing this game. A good amount of people playing these days, though. You know, I think their third collection had some trouble selling out. So just because you're building on the top crypto gaming chain isn't necessarily going to magically create instant sellouts for your NFT collections. especially if there are over, 400 different games to choose from in the Immutable ecosystem. The big question kind of lies for Immutable. How are we going to get this market cap up so we get more funding through IMX coins so that we can fund more and more games and just blow this thing up? And I think the answer is kind of obvious. It's just waiting. We have to wait for our turn in the crypto gaming cycle. We have to wait for these games to finally finish. I know, Illuvium, for example, recently went into open beta for the most part, and it looks cool. It looks cool. It just doesn't have the hook, though. It just doesn't have the hook. I would say if I had to place, a tier list on the top crypto gaming chains, I would put a tie between Ronin and AVAX. Then I would put IMX on third, because IMX, they have the most games right now. They have the most potential, but we haven't seen it yet from Immutable. I'm just hoping we see it at some point. I am definitely excited for the games that they're building, not from an investor standpoint, but absolutely from a gamer's standpoint. And so the big question, if you're investing into IMX, is how do we change the perspective of the average person from just a gamer to also a spender? Because there are plenty of billion-dollar companies in the stock market for gaming, right? There's Blizzard, Activision, etc. But these companies, they don't really accrue much value over time. Is the vision only for gamers, or are we going to embrace Web3 and just blow this ecosystem up? It's a bit of a two-parted question. I definitely think that Immutable focusing on Web 2 in the short term is absolutely the best move. And I also think that, giving the reins over to a bunch of different games is much better than trying to, make that one game blow up to make all of your games blow up. If you give yourself 400 different chances and you give yourself a good shot, then you're probably going to have the best odds. Another cool thing that I found while researching Immutable recently was the launch of the Blocklords token. I don't own this token at all, but why I wanted to mention it is because, one, their game is being built on IMX, and the second thing is they're listed on Coinbase, which I thought was interesting. It's interesting that they're listed on Coinbase. They were one of the few listings that ended up happening. The other one I know was Pirate, which is an Arbitrum, and Carrot Coin, which pretty much just Ethereum, right? They're just vibing over there in Ethereum land. But Blocklords was from Immutable. So clearly games from Immutable, even though they're centered toward just gamers, can also have a lot of potential from the speculator's standpoint. If this token could get listed on Coinbase, then I'm sure it's not the only crypto gaming token in the entirety of Immutable land to be able to potentially be listed on some of these larger centralized exchanges. So, would I say they're the craziest crypto gaming chain on the planet? No, but I absolutely think that they are making the right moves short term here, kind of just consolidating everything, giving some of the power to those third-party marketplaces. But I will say, you can't give too much of that power away, because you give too much of that power away, it gets abused. And when you get abused, it's not a pretty figure. So we'll see how this ends up going for IMX. But I wanted to just do an overview after a couple months have passed around the entire ecosystem after what is a pretty big moment for IMX's history. So let me know your thoughts in the comment section in regards to all of this. I hope you enjoyed the content. Like and subscribe if you did. Until the next time, stay classy, and that's all.